Got the tape recorder going, got our cassette tape in because we're 1974. Got it put up to the speakers to record our favorite song because we can't afford to buy the actual album. All right, here we go.
Inside this room, all of my dreams become realities, and some of my realities become dreams.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You are listening to The Wilder Ride, getting wilder by the minute. Here are your hosts, Alan Sanders and Walt Murray.
Welcome back, everyone. You've made it to the end of the week of The Wilder Ride, getting wilder by the minute, a podcast where we are breaking down and celebrating the films of Gene Wilder 1 minute at a time. And our first film we're looking at is Young Frankenstein. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Alan Sanders.
I'm your co-host, Walt Murray.
And joining us once again to wrap up the work week, we appreciate him once again getting him out of his trailer and getting him from the set and into our little dungeon over here. We've got Adam Boyer, a working actor in the Atlanta area. And welcome, Adam. Thanks for being here all week.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Hey, let me ask you this. When it comes to being an actor, you work out of Atlanta, which has become pretty much the mecca of late for the film industry. But as far as your career has gone, where have you gone to shoot movies outside of Georgia?
I'm primarily not primarily. I'm actually a Southeast actor. I've gone as far north as Wilmington, far south as, I don't even know, and as far west as Shreveport. But yeah, so far I've stayed in this little corner of the country. It's a right-to-work area, the Southeast is, so I am not union yet, but I am venturing out probably this year to LA and New York and Chicago and other places.
And I know we started off the beginning of the week, but let's remind people, they may have seen you if they're fans of The Walking Dead. I mean, you've been in other things, but you had a pretty tense moment on The Walking Dead as one of the termites.
I did. The Butcher Terminus, my big baseball bat carrying bad self. Lately, the big kick has been Ozark. That's what people have that look on their face like they just bit into a lemon when they see me, but they don't know why.
I get that, and I wasn't even in Ozark.
Yeah.
You get that because you sound like you're from Ozark.
Well, that is true. That is true. Well, no spoiler here, but I guess you're not going to be in season 2 of Ozark.
I am not in season 2 of Ozark. Shocker. It's not, unlike Walking Dead. I won't be showing up as a zombie in Ozark.
Yeah, no reanimation there.
Well, let's go ahead and continue on where we are today. Minute number 25 of Young Frankenstein starts off with Dr. Frankenstein still in bed, still in bed having, well, we didn't know if it was a sex dream or some other kind of escapade underneath the sheets by himself, but he was having something going on, and we continue in the bed as a slow push-in gets us all the way up to his face, and we end with the beautiful, but yet somehow sweet and innocent Inga rushing in at the sound of his nightmare. Adam, when it comes to acting, sleep or dream, how do you try to make that look real?
Yeah, sleeping and dreams is actually very, very difficult because you can't, it's not like you can do research. Well, I guess you could videotape yourself, but if you're not someone who talks in their sleep, then yeah, it's kind of hard to relate. I haven't really had that one. I have, died of pneumonia. That's about as close as I've gotten. I have a lot of experience in dying.
You do death well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I die a lot.
Is that on your acting resume? That good dyer?
Special skills there. Yeah.
Death.
My special skills on the back of my headshots say glancing headers, making inappropriate comments, and disappointing my mother. And no one has ever said a word about it either. It's really funny. They really take your resume seriously.
That's awesome. Just recently, there was a comedian that was saying, if you ever want to find me, you just come into the house and look for the room that smells like weed and disappointment.
I think we can all relate.
Well, as we move into this, Walt, it turns out that whatever dream, if it was starting off nice or if it was, I think this is your typical bait and switch that we've been given several times already. The game, the shell game of thinking we're heading one direction with what's happening in a scene, and it takes a U-turn or a curve and heads in a different direction. He is definitely having a nightmare, and it's obvious in his dream someone is convincing him, no, you are a Frankenstein.
Yeah, and the fact that they cut to the painting on the wall of his grandfather, I would guess that's what's going on, is that he is arguing with the ghost of his grandfather, trying to fight being a Frankenstein. He is wrestling, and he even says this, that he's wrestling with fate, he's wrestling with destiny. Is this something that I can avoid? Is this something that I can fight off? Or am I destined to follow in that same path?
Yeah, he actually says, I don't believe in fate. And then he says, I won't say it. And then finally he relents, all right, all right. Now here's something interesting. This is where the script gives us a little insight. I was trying to figure this out. And I'll start off before I tell you what the script says. Walt, do you find yourself singing phrases in your nightmares? Like, destiny, destiny. I mean, do you do that?
No, not generally. No, I think as bad as I sing, I think my wife might strangle me in my sleep if I tried to sing.
Adam, do you have any performance modes in your dreams that you're giving a full Beyonce routine?
I totally make up poetry and sing it in my nightmares. I'm pretty sure that is my nightmare. Making poetry and singing it in my sleep.
Yeah.
Well, as far as I know, I've never woken up that way. That'd be a pretty lovely nightmare, actually.
That would be bad.
A Dr. Seuss mare, I guess.
Well, here's the thing that's left out from the script, and I think because I was trying to see if this is a joke. Was this mimicking a song or a commercial or something at the time? Because he's definitely got sort of a sing-songy delivery with destiny, destiny, no escaping, that's for me. And I'm like, it's like a cheer.
It is. Yes. It's a very sing-song line. It's really odd.
Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey.
Yeah, and it's funny, I guess, but it is just kind of a weird placement and weird for the whole setup.
Well, here's what the script said, and I think this does give that insight to why it sounds like a cheer. According to what he was supposed to say is right after, all right, all right, all right, you win, he suddenly goes, give me a D. Now give me an E. Now give me an S. Give me a T. Give me an I. Now give me an N. And I mean, I want to really hear it. Now give me a Y. And what have we got? Destiny. Destiny. So he literally had an entire line of dialogue where he was supposed to say, give me a D for destiny. Give me an E.
Okay, I like what they did in the final cut better.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we can thank the editor for that one.
Yeah, that would have been pretty rough.
Because it was already going on pretty long.
Yeah, oh yeah, it did.
I mean, most of this minute is watching him writhe and yelling at himself.
Yeah, this is definitely a weird and awkward moment in this movie for me.
I want to take a second here, though. There is a phenomenon that I've often been interested in called lucid dreaming. And I don't know if you've ever had any of these. I didn't have them until I was a parent. I may have had them when I was a kid, and that's why the nightmares seem real. But what lucid dreaming is versus regular dreams, they're described as dreams that are so real that you almost feel like when you wake up, it's like it happened. You've experienced a memory or that it was there. It wasn't like when we wake up from a dream, we normally like, okay, that was a dream. That's stupid. I had a lucid nightmare that I had when my first daughter was born and she was a toddler. I had a dream that I had gone to like pick her up, and for some reason in the dream, it made total sense. I was grabbing her by her jaw and her jaw came off.
God, that's terrible.
That's terrible.
It was horrifying. I woke up and I thought to myself, I'm so glad the doctors got her fixed. We had to go to the hospital. I'm surprised the cops. And I was convinced that I had done something horrible to my kid. And then I spent the next 20 minutes in bed talking myself off that ledge.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, when they're that clear, it takes a little while to realize you're not still in it.
Because I was going to ask, have you guys had an experience? I should have probably sent you notes ahead of time to think about it, but have you had a lucid dream or anything, maybe just even generally speaking, where you did have to convince yourself it was a dream?
Oh, yeah. I had one of the, it's those of us with kids. I think we've all had one of those horrifying, terrible, night terror? Yeah, where you wake up and it takes, you got to talk yourself off the ledge.
Yeah, I had one time when I was a kid, I had a really high fever. And do you remember that tattoo or that picture of the guy with the huge feet, and it was the keep on trucking guy? I dreamed that guy was my next door neighbor and that he walked around everywhere doing the keep on trucking thing. And when I woke up, I really vividly thought that cartoon character lived next door to me. And it took a while for my brain to process that it was just a weird dream.
Yeah, there it is. Keep on trucking.
There's going to be a weird Google spike of "keep on trucking" searches when this episode comes out.
You tripped to that?
I tripped to that.
Dude, you need therapy.
Yeah, the mind of Walt Murray is a weird place.
Unicorn.
Unicorn.
At least now we know with minute 25 why this little cheer happens at the end. It's a place where they cut out a big portion of what was, I think, superfluous dialogue. I don't think we needed it, but because they probably filmed the whole thing and chose to cut in at his destiny, it just sounds a little weird that he's actually chanting it. Like it's a cheerleading thing we would see, but it certainly works as it is because we know he's going through some really messed up stuff in his head.
Yeah, and I think that maybe the point of where they're going is that it is just he is kind of a mess. He's fighting these questions of who he is and his whole identity is Dr. Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, and trying to resist, I think, what he feels like may be inevitable.
Adam, I have a question for you now as we make our way toward more of the end of the minute here, because this whole minute is really just a push in on him, hearing him muttering in his sleep and talking about how he doesn't believe in fate and that he's going to eventually, by the end of the nightmare, he has to embrace his destiny. A shadow.
Sorry, before I forget, can I hit the dream real quick?
Sure.
It seems like what they were setting up, you know that pep rally dream where you're in front of the entire gymnasium and they're all chanting stuff? That's kind of the feel I got for it from his nightmare of like being up there and they're all the cheerleaders and everybody is cheering all that stuff and he doesn't want to be known as that and he can't get away from it. Of course, he's got nowhere to go because he's in the middle of a gymnasium. That's my thought.
That's interesting because you do get that sense of that he is kind of trapped, that he does feel that weight of the inevitable coming, and his brain's a mess.
That's just what I pictured.
I think you're right. And we've all had, depending on, well, as students, when we were younger in school, there's always the dream of your clothes slowly coming off, or you get to school in your dream and you realize you forgot to put your pants on. I had that one multiple times in middle school. What was going on in middle school? But anyways.
Well, there's just a couple times you showed up with no pants on. That may have driven that dream.
I was going to say, I actually did that. I really did. I had this long Philadelphia Fury, Walt probably remembers it, soccer shirt that I wore every day through middle school.
I do remember that.
I wore that thing to go play soccer on a weekend in the neighborhood. And it covered where my shorts usually were. Totally forgot to put my shorts on. I was running around in underwear and a t-shirt playing soccer and finally looked down and went, oh my God.
At least you were comfortable, though.
Yeah, I probably played great.
You guys feel like it's a little breezier than most days?
Seems a little chilly.
Oh, well.
Working on my tent line.
Yeah. Feel the sensation.
Well, as we make our way through then this minute and he's slowly, I don't know, running out of energy or maybe even slowly waking up, a shadow casts across his face. And he initially starts to say like he's going to say ma or mom or something like that and then stops. But I'll go to you first, Adam. We don't see who's casting the shadow right away. So from the fact that it's a horror movie but a comedy, who did you think was coming in to the room?
I didn't know who was coming in, but I do remember feeling anxiety-ridden. So I was thinking it was something bad was about to happen.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking Frau Blucher was about to make an appearance.
That was my thought as well. I thought it was going to be Frau Blucher coming in to either scare him or scare us.
Or scare us, yeah.
So once again, another bait and switch comes because the last person, it was either going to be Igor or Frau Blucher. The last person I was suspecting would be the beautiful Terry Garr coming to help him regain the world of non-dreaming.
Boy, talk about the best way to get awoken.
I could have Terry Garr, just this Terry Garr, not now.
Not now, no.
This Terry Garr come wake me up every morning.
Now we're going back to the nightmare.
Yeah, talk about a bait and switch.
God, something about Mary style.
Dear Lord. Oh, look, some gel. So when she comes in, dressed in her nightie, it's just beautiful.
It's one of those moments in film history that you just really have to appreciate.
Yeah. In fact, it's on freeze frame right now,
right.
So I'm appreciating through this whole minute.
Well, and it's funny looking at this because you have her with her expression and him. He is in a completely different universe.
Yeah.
So he hardly even notices her.
Well, this goes back to what we said. Once we get past the roll in the hay joke, we've sensed that he's now more of maybe the mentor figure, the professorial figure, with her being more of the student. And he seems to have that very clear line. So there isn't, at least at this point, any sort of attraction to her that way.
Right. Not that he's showing, certainly. So, and he, of course, is very distracted and sits up and says, "What is that music?" And we get that first understanding or first glimpse into the fact that he really is influenced by that music.
And it also lets us know that it's not the soundtrack anymore, that there truly is someone, a violin is being played somewhere in the castle.
Yeah, and he's definitely drawn to it.
When it comes to a performance like this, obviously scores aren't played on the set. You don't have a sense of the sounds and some of the post-production work that goes into a scene. And maybe this is playing toward, it seems like a silly question because you're like, well, yeah, that's my job. But how do you, as an actor, try to make sure that if you're supposed to be reacting to some other sound effect that's not there, how do they do that to try to make it a realistic for your performance?
It's funny. I've done it both ways where they actually say, okay, I'm going to clap and that's going to be the gunshot or whatever we're supposed to be reacting to. And then I've done it where they say, all right, we're not going to have a noise or anything for you to react to. And I'll take my own cue and just react to it. It's usually if they're shooting a wide or there's more than one person in the scene that has to react to the sound, they will give you a sound so you can all react at the same time, like giving you an eye line so you're all looking at the same place. Because if they don't, you don't know when someone's going to react. It needs to be synced. But if it's just me, then a lot of times, because it makes that discovery easier for me to just react to the sound whenever I feel like it.
What about music, though? Because you say sound like a gunshot or something where it's more like you need to have more of a whole body reaction. But what about hearing like voices off stage or hearing something? Do they do that off camera to give you something to hear, or do they leave it up to you?
Usually what they do is if it's music, they'll play the music. If you're reacting like you're kind of swaying to it or dancing to it or whatever you're doing, they'll play the music right up until you're about to start shooting the scene. So you kind of get the beat, and then they'll cut the music off and start rolling tape. So you kind of already have that, the rhythm going. So when they lay the music over, everybody's kind of going to the same beat, at least for a little while.
Yeah, I've always wondered how they do like club scenes and, where you've got it, or a gymnasium prom where everyone's dancing and they're all to the same kind of music. But how do you do that and not ruin the take, which obviously you can't have the music playing in every take?
Right. That's exactly what they do. They will play the music, get everybody dancing, listening to the music, and then they will cut it right before the take, and then they'll roll. So you're still bouncing to the music. Everybody's still dancing, but it's quiet. And so you can record your lines.
Well, as we start to wrap this minute up, we realize that the violin music we've been hearing is really there. She hears it too, and she says it's coming, but we don't know from where. You're going to have to wait now till Monday to see if we can figure out where is this music coming from.
Yeah, and I think we've got an interesting week ahead of us next week.
Next week's going to be a lot of fun. So as we get ready to hit the 5 o'clock hour, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, we can start cracking open the beers. Adam, I want to end with this because you've been with us all week long. These 5 minutes were yours to sort of play with us and get behind the scenes and really, dive deep. But I want to get your impressions, if you will, for just a moment of just the movie in general. Where does it fall in your canon of overall films and comedies? And just touch on it again, what you think about Young Frankenstein.
I would say top 10 comedies, top 20, period. I really think Wilder was, I guess, a little bit ahead of his time, or maybe right on time, but he's just such a talent. He was able to take something, I think, that many, many other actors could do, which would be considered goofy or over the top, but he did it so well that it's just funny, that he is just funny or endearing, and he's very expressive, and he says so much without dialogue that he captivates you. So I truly enjoy his work.
On our website, when we were creating the content for it, the reason why we picked this actor to kind of look at his body of work is, at the surface, you could say, well, he's just a goofy comedian. But I think he brings such a warmth and a genuineness and an unforgettability that he leaves a mark. When you've watched a Gene Wilder movie, you don't forget it.
Yeah, he's the kind, like, he has a huge heart, and it translates on film in every single scene he's in.
When you watch something like this as an actor yourself, do you ever try to figure out what you could do yourself? Do you imitate? Do you watch other performances to try to gain insights on how to attack your next role?
You know, it's interesting. I have found, and I found this out actually years ago in an acting class, when I tried to do stuff similar to, we all have our strengths and weaknesses because of who we are. As people, no matter what kind of an actor we are, our certain physicalities come into what we do. And Gene Wilder is one of those people that can get upset and this way, and it's very funny when he gets upset and he gets animated. I have found that I am the exact opposite of that. When I get animated and upset, people get scared. I thought I was being so funny in this acting class and no one was laughing.
Whoa.
They finished up, we finished up our scene, and one of my friends raised his hand and he said, I thought you were going to throw him through the wall. And I went, yeah, I thought I was being so funny though, and goofy. And they're like, no, there was nothing funny about it, dude. You scared the hell out of everybody. I was like, oh, okay, well, hopefully I'll book those roles then.
Note to self, I'm apparently not a funny guy.
See, I think I'm pretty funny. But yeah, when I try to be intimidating and funny, or kind of, I don't know, like goofy like he is, like he's so unimposing as well that he's really, really funny.
Yet I would also argue one of my favorite roles I think he ever played was Willy Wonka. And to watch him when he goes off on Charlie and his grandfather, as a kid, I remember going, wow, he can be mean too. And so mean that I forget how playful and funny he is. And to be able to do that on a dime is just a mastering of your craft of acting.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I think one of the things for me about Gene Wilder is he has no hard edges. When you look at him, he has a kind of a soft feel about him, even with his hair being kind of crazy and his kind of doe eyes at times. And so it's hard to even see him being intimidating when he's mad. He just comes across as funny. And
right.
And you do see that even later as he gets into Silver Streak and some of his other later films where he's trying to be angry, he's trying to be intense, he's trying to be kind of a hero type, but it always comes across as funny just because of who he is and how he's made. And I think it really helped to add to that genius that made him who he is.
But even among the humor, even when we want to smile and say, okay, that's cute, there's still a genuine, like a warm-hearted, genuine part that comes through as well. And I think that's why he's so endearing.
Yeah, you almost expect him to stop and give $10 to a homeless guy as he's walking through the subway station with the black face paint on. He just has that kind heart to him.
If you put my picture next to his picture and he was giving the most stern look on the planet and I had the biggest smile, you would still not want to be in an alley with me. You would choose him 1,000 times over. Like, oh, that guy will help me if I'm in an alley.
Yeah, and no question at all. And of course, you will forever be the Batman of Terminus to me, so that scares the hell out of me.
That doesn't help.
No, that's whoops. Yeah. Well, Adam, as we start to wrap up, I know you mentioned throughout the course of the week that you've got your own kids. Have you had a chance to introduce some of Gene Wilder's works to them to see how they react as, young teens?
I have, I have one. I have a 15-year-old boy who actually just walked into the room and stopped and went, it's funny. I'm still trying to work on that. When he was much, much too young to really get it, I would try to show him anything that's an older movie, and I'm going to do some air quotes there. And he's like, if it's before like 1990, he kind of gives me the nose up, like, TV had 2 pixels and your video games are terrible and you're old and this stuff is irrelevant. All right, he said depends on the movie. So to answer your question, I will be putting it on the list.
Awesome. Well, the thing we're going to be discovering as we go along, and we hope to have a wider listenership than just 40 plus and 50 plus year old white males going back to their teen and preteen childhood. Because we did have some pre-millennials in here. My own kids have decided to go back and watch it and found it humorous. So I think that, how you said Gene Wilder was maybe ahead of his time or right at the cusp of his time? I almost wonder if just Gene Wilder is timeless.
I think totally. I think he was, what I meant by that is more he was so original. Nobody had done what he did, and people have tried to imitate him since. And, some do okay and some not so much. He's brilliant.
Well, Adam, as we get ready for that 5 o'clock whistle, it's Friday. We're all going to enjoy a weekend, a brief couple of days off before we continue Young Frankenstein. Of course, you will be on to bigger and greater and higher paying ventures than this. What are you working on right now, film-wise? Where can people also learn a little bit more about your career?
Can find me on IMDb under Adam Boyer, or Facebook also under Adam Boyer, wearing a bunch of Patriots gear, or on Instagram at Adam Boyer 16, I believe it is, because I follow it so closely. I just wrapped, what did I wrap? Superfly, playing a private investigator, and working on the Bobby Brown story in a couple of weeks. And that is all that I have booked at the moment. So we'll see what the spring brings.
Well, Adam, I want to say thank you so much for being part of this podcast and bringing us all of what it's like behind the scenes, to work in front of as well as behind the camera, and really get a sense of everything that happens on a movie studio, in a production, whether it's a commercial, a television show, or a feature-length motion picture. I think you've really helped give us a little bit of an insight on the craft of acting and what we're watching on screen. It may be a comedy to a lot of people, but there's some brilliant performances taking place in Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, Adam, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. It was fun.
Walt, when somebody wants to learn a little bit more about what we do to not get paid, where can they go?
Yes, to find out more about us, you can go to www.facebook.com/thewilderride. You'll get as much of us as you can possibly stand. If that doesn't satisfy you, you can jump over to Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/thewilderride. You'll find out some ways you can help out, deferring some of our costs, and a little bit more about what's going on with this team here.
And we've got the Facebook page, but we also have a closed listener group if you really want to get involved and in the weeds and share your memories. You've got autographs, photographs, anything that you want to share. And it doesn't have to be just Gene Wilder. We're okay talking movies in general. As you can tell, we love movies. So get involved with the closed group. Find us on that public page. We've got a Twitter account or our website, which has links to all of that, which is thewilderride.com. So you have to come back next week where we find out who's playing the violin, and let's take a little romp through the castle trying to find it.
I think it's going to be a fun ride.
Come on back Monday as we will continue this Wilder ride. Until then... Wow.
You caught me short there.
I even gave you the visual cue. I was like, I handed it to you.
You did.
I was like, do I need to set the T-ball back up for you?
Yes, you do.
All right. Until then...
Frankenstein.
Nightmare.
Frankenstein.
Frankenschnitzel.
No escaping, that's for me. Destiny, destiny. No escaping, that's for me. Destiny, destiny. No escape.
I'm pausing here because I just realized we didn't rewatch minute 25. We just jumped in.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we'll let this. I'll edit this out. Let's go ahead and jump to 25 and revisit it very quickly, so that way it's all fresh in our minds.
Good. You can edit this out too. Shut the fuck up. No.
Yeah.
You gonna look towards Walt or something?
I'm actually
talking to the dog.
And if I remember right, that's not the first time you said that to me.